Good afternoon and welcome to episode 63 of the Leading IT podcast. Today's podcast is Cloud Storage 3.0 and we're joined with Wasabi's Stephen Madden. If you're new to the podcast, our podcast is for Australian IT leaders who are looking to stay up to date with news, trends across AI, cybersecurity, power platform, cloud and infrastructure, strategy and leadership. Your hosts are Tom Layden, who's the CIO at Longview, and myself, Josh Rubens, who's CEO at consulting firm Imperial IT. And we tackle the IT landscape from both sides of the paradigm with pragmatic and actionable advice. So what we're going to talk about today is the evolution of cloud storage and some exciting new use cases with Wasabi's Technical Alliance Manager, Steve Madden. Welcome, Steve. G'day, Tom.
G'day, Josh. There's plenty of news at the moment. Hey, with Microsoft Ignite, it's kicked off. I'm sure we'll do a dedicated episode on that one, but there's another news as well.
Yeah, so do you want to go first?
Yeah, look, today the Australian government released their annual cybersecurity report. I don't know if you've seen that one, Josh. It's quite interesting. It's quite detailed. It's actually a very good read. Recommend reading it. They've got a lot of case studies around what happened across cybersecurity landscape last year. And they look at small business, medium and large businesses. So it's pretty relevant to every CIO, CTO, anyone in that space. It's definitely worth a read. What is interesting in this is that the cost of cyber crime for medium business has decreased by 35%. So decreased, yeah. So it looks like medium-sized businesses. Large business also decreased by about 11%. Small business increased slightly by 8%. But it looks like medium-sized businesses are starting to get their hands on the tools that are starting to slow things down for hackers, right? So essentially MFA, good practice. People are starting to implement that, and it does make it harder for hackers to get. However, on the flip side, of course, is the hackers are getting much better. And the report goes into how hackers are using AI, for example. Interesting point was they were making that, email phishing still seems to be the biggest entry point for business. It's still those stupid emails that people click on, they do something, they give someone their password. And with AI, all of a sudden there's someone imitating someone's voice or even imitating a video. There's a really scary case of someone on a video conference with a fake CFO confirming the money transfer. So although things seem to be getting better, there's some very scary things out there.
Yeah. That's good to see that the costs are coming down a bit. I did see something else today about they're trying to pass a new law to enforce companies who pay ransomware. So that they're trying to get that passed. Another thing, I did see that there's new cybersecurity solutions coming out to combat deep fake. So where they'll be able to tell if something's a deep fake or not. And, that might just become sort of the next mainstream bit of software out there, Tom, that on all your devices, you'll be able to see if text or images or video is real or not.
Yeah, but this goes back to, is this from a trusted source? So if I send you a link for a video conference, is it the video conference system you actually use, for example? Yeah. Or is it some random one? So it just goes back to user training, as always. Just keep training the users, but also just being so aware of, what they're up to as well. So it never goes away, but seems like things are tightening up from a medium business point of view.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of growth in our cybersecurity practice, and it's good to see that a lot of boards are starting to invest.
Yeah, so starting to make a difference. All those changes. Mate, what's your news item?
All right, I've gone in a totally different direction.
Yep.
So Tesla, so Elon announced the new generation of the humanoid robot Optimus.
Oh yes, I saw the video.
Yes.
Are you going to buy one?
I don't know. I don't know I didn't know whether to be scared or excited, Tom. So he says it can be a teacher, babysit your kids, walk your dog, mow your lawn, and get your groceries
Mate, you're out of the
be,
job.
be your friend and serve drinks. Yeah, we're all stuffed. So, would you leave your kids with a humanoid robot when you go out as you go out for dinner with your wife?
Yeah, I will. And the robot will hang them up by their necks. Just hold them there until we get back.
And what if the robot gets hacked? Right, I've been watching too many science fiction movies, but
But you don't know my kids. I'll be worried about the robot first.
Well, yeah,
true.
my kids wouldn't want to hack the robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's predicting that there'll be more of these humanoid robots than humans,
Nice.
and that the cost will eventually be between 20 to 30,000 US. But the caveat is that that would take a while because they have to be, at a scale to get some economies of scale to get that price down. But at 20 to 30 US, that's not bad.
Oh, we'll all have one. It's 10 years away, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because they'll be a thing. I just think they look so good and so usable. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want a thing that goes and unblocks your toilet? Or mows your lawn for you. It takes the garbage out. This sounds so good. But, maybe it's fantasy. I don't know.
So that was, they also announced the cyber cab. I don't know if you saw that, automated cabs called Robo Taxi.
They already exist, though, don't they?
Yeah, there's a new one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I was in the US recently for the conference, I did see a lot of cyber trucks.
Well, yeah.
It's an ugly car, but there was a lot of them around the US. I don't think that they've been released in Australia, but yeah, that's what because he said when people sort of criticise how it looks, he said the future of cars should look like the future. Was the answer. Yeah,
I saw some pictures of one of the cyber trucks, a Tesla truck in Queensland recently. So I think there's one in the country as a demo unit. But I'm not an expert in this, but I don't think they met Australian design rules for vehicles, so they might not sell here.
Yeah, well, I found them pretty ugly, but
I think they're a very polarizing vehicle. Yeah.
Yes. All right, Tom, you got more news?
Look, I don't want to. I was just reading the Microsoft stuff. Actually, I'm going to hang on to.
Yeah, I'm not. I did go through the Ignite book of news this morning. Yeah. But I think our next podcast we should dedicate to that because that's a lot there, and I don't want to take away from that. Did you have other news? I've got a few quick things, and then
that's it, mate. What's in yours?
So mine is more licensing things that are relevant to all our listeners. So this has got nothing to do with Ignite, but long awaited for, and I know this will be relevant to you, Tom. As of December 1, Microsoft will allow customers to buy M365 Copilot under a monthly billing plan.
Okay, good.
Because it was always up till now you had to buy a year up front. It will cost 5% more doing it by the month, but that's been holding a lot of customers back. That was one. The other one was that from January 1st, they're going to reduce the E5 license by 15% as a promotion until June 30, and it will apply to customers up to 2,400 seats. So that's a big one for customers who are thinking about the cost of moving to E5.
Yep.
And the other one was from Broadcom. So Broadcom VMware have announced a new license, which is vSphere Enterprise Plus. So they used to have just vSphere Standard, and then you had to buy vSphere Foundation or vCloud Foundation, which had a lot of bundles in it, and a lot of particularly smaller businesses were priced out. So now they've introduced another tier, which is more customers who want hypervisor only, but they want some of the more enterprise features like DRS and the virtual network, some of the advanced virtual network features. So now they can do that without having to buy vSphere Foundation or vCloud Foundation. So just a few things that are, I think, relevant to almost all the customers and people who listen to our podcast.
Good.
All right, so let's welcome Stephen. So Stephen Madden is the Technical Alliance Manager at Wasabi. He's been in the startup space for more than 18 years. He's before that and in between, he's worked for some very large enterprises. and has lived and worked overseas. Steve's background is in IT infrastructure, but he's very passionate about bringing new technologies to market. And, in a lot of cases, he's been the first man on the ground in Australia, bringing high-tech startups into the country, which takes, a lot of guts, a lot of effort, and has delivered many successful outcomes and has a really good track record in the space. He loves what he does, and which is making customers and partners happy by working with them to design and deliver innovative and fit-for-purpose solutions. So, g'day, Steve. Welcome to the Leading IT podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, and thanks, Tom. It's great to be here. I was just thinking to myself then, when's the first time you and I met? It was maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe showing my age there a little bit. And I caught up with Ben the other day by chance down at an event in Melbourne, and we couldn't quite work out whether it was Compellant product line, the storage SAN that myself and Craig Stockdale brought to market here, and then that became Dell via acquisition, or if it was Virtual Iron, which was a Zen-based hypervisor solution that was actually competing with VMware ESX at the time. It was one of those, I think.
Yeah, wow. So I think that's aging both of us, I think.
Well, yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, it's always been fun to take those high-tech, high-velocity businesses from North America, usually, and bring them to Australia, New Zealand, and APAC for the greater good, which may be helping customers mitigate their risk around cybersecurity and ransomware protection, which is a lot of what we do today at Wasabi, actually, Tom. And so your news there is really interesting to me. I'm actually surprised that costs may be decreasing in some categories around cybersecurity costs and ransomware costs and all those associated things. Quite surprising.
Yeah, it is interesting, but let's talk about what you guys do in that space as well. But before we get into that detail, perhaps we should just take a step back and kind of describe, okay, well, what is it Wasabi does?
Yeah.
What are you actually delivering in this country?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for myself and the team here. So for a little bit of context, I started with Wasabi 1st of August 2022, so just clocked over 2 years as part of the initial launch team. At that point, we had a vault location in Sydney, and a vault for Wasabi is physical equipment that is providing the object storage platform. So that's what we do as a company, is object buckets and data at scale. In fact, that platform is multiple exabytes around the world. So it's a lot of capacity. The larger players, some of them we've already mentioned today on this podcast, Amazon Web Services, Azure and Google, they're the big three. And so Wasabi's in rare air is approaching the hyperscalers in terms of our capacity around the world. So what do we do with that as a team here? It really, it's not meant to be cliche or corny in any way, but we work with our partners and customers to help them do good things. And that may be universities to increase their security posture so that they are snapped back up and protected in a secure offsite location, so that in the event of a ransomware event, they don't pay the ransom. Reducing your costs around cybersecurity. So what we do at Wasabi is object storage, and we can get into the technicalities of that if we ever need to, but it's just mass storage. It's exabytes worth of disk in multiple locations around the world. What's more important is how customers and partners use that to achieve their business outcomes.
Yeah. And just to clarify, so it is objects. So is it based on sort of the S3 API? Is that the...
Yeah, so the protocols and APIs are all S3, not to be confused or conflated with Amazon Web Services S3. And we pay a lot of homage and respect to Amazon to launching that service. I think that was around 2006. Sounds about right. So what's that? We're 18 years maybe into that industry standard default protocol being in the market, and there's thousands of applications and devices that use S3 protocol. There is Amazon Web Services S3, which is the Amazon service, but that protocol is industry standard. So it's a question we get a lot, Josh, actually, because our front-end protocol in Wasabi is S3, are we somehow leveraging or part of Amazon Web Services? Yeah. The answer is no, we're not. We're our own thing. We have the exabytes worth of capacity in 14 locations around the world today. So for Australian customers, the one closest to them is in Sydney. And, that's a large platform in itself. And we're a storage provider. We are the cloud provider. We don't do all the compute and the networking and serverless compute, database or anything like that, just object storage. And we keep things pretty simple. It's a single hot tier of storage, and that's where the Wasabi name comes from, hot and spicy.
Right.
So yeah. We're a hot tier of storage, instantly available, always accessible, powered up, and the tier of disk that the application writes to is the tier of disk that the application or the user can read from. So, it is S3. We are our own thing, and what's great about that is that protocol is ubiquitous around the world, and Rubrik can talk to a Wasabi bucket or Commvault or a Veeam or the Wasabi Cloud NAS, which is a Windows application. And actually, it's really unlimited. There's thousands or tens of thousands of points of integration that can use this platform because S3 is an open standard.
So, just want to get into it a bit. So if you look at your sort of claim to fame, we as a Imperium, we are, full disclosure, we are a partner of Wasabi's, and we have been moving our customers back up and archive storage from AWS and Azure to Wasabi with the promise of being 80% cheaper, zero fees for egress and API calls, 100% hot. At an RRP of, that's rack rate of $7 USD per terabyte a month. I mean, that's really cheap.
The problem you're solving is large volumes of cheap storage, right? You're making storage cheaper for us, the users. Is that sort of where you're fitting here?
And better. But I suppose my question is how? I mean, given how big the big three are, how are you doing it? So, I mean, if you look at, I did a comparison based on 100 terabytes. So this is rec retail for Wasabi. So Wasabi, basically, I'll just explain, do a pay as you go, which is rec retail, and then you can do, 1, 3 or 5 year, and you're going to get, there'll be a better price point for it. So just on rec retail, 100 terabytes in US dollars on Wasabi would be 8388. While on Azure, it's 45,220, AWS over 50, and Google over 57. So it's significant, like it's more than 80% cheaper.
So you're saying, what was that numbers again? So Wasabi was $8.30 something.
8,388 a year for 100 terabytes.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Azure is over 45,000, Amazon over 50,000, and Google over 57, which is more than 80% cheaper. So I suppose, given how big those guys are, how
what's going on here?
Yeah. How you doing it?
Doing?
Excellent and very fair set of questions there. They are questions I asked before I joined the company. How do we do it? Because the headline numbers, the contrast and comparisons to on-premises storage, whether that's SAN, NAS, or DAS, or object, and compared to the hyperscalers, is vast. Also, my colleagues and friends in the industry around the country, when I joined Wasabi, they would call me up and say, "Well, how does that work? How's it $7 a terabyte?" So, really good questions, and I've dug into this a bit over the last couple of years, and we have 10,000 plus customers in Australia now. So there's no doubt that it's popular. It keeps us all really, really busy, and there's no showing away from the fact that one of the reasons it's popular is because of the price. And so how do we do it? Well, part of it is the scale of our business. We have a huge marketing program. There's a big brand around Wasabi. So, anyone who watches Premier League football in the UK, we sponsor Liverpool, so you get to see the Wasabi branding there, and we're very present at events around the world, whether that's Gartner and everything else. And because it's object storage, we're not tied to any particular vertical, so across all verticals. So part of why we can do $7 a terabyte is the scale that we do it at. Exabytes. An exabyte's a lot. An exabyte's 1,024 petabytes. Petabytes 1,024 terabytes. That's a lot of disk. And this is rooms and rooms and rooms full of disk. So part of it's the scale. Another way to think of it is focus. Hyperscalers do compute, networking, database, thousands of products on their services on their catalog, where essentially Wasabi is one. Right. For one product company, we have about 10 products really, but it's a single platform. So there's focus. That's what we do is object storage. And then with that focus, we can get efficiency. So we develop our own software, the stack that runs the platform. Of course, we get in x86, servers and compute for top of rack, and we buy in disks. We have investment from drive manufacturers, so that helps, and so we can influence roadmap and things like that from the suppliers. And so we build this platform, but through writing the code ourselves, we get efficiency down to the platters on the disk, and we can use 99% of a platter, where in other environments the efficiency may be a lot less. It could be 60-70%. So the wastage of physical resources on Wasabi side is less, and we can go to market at $7 a terabyte and be profitable. And there's a culture as well at Wasabi that's really important to this, and it comes back to the cybersecurity piece a little bit, Tom. One of our customers, or a couple of our customers actually, Charles Darwin University and James Cook University come top of mind. Veeam and Wasabi together, and there's other universities using Commvault and Wasabi and other systems. When that customer buys a contract from us, let's say it's that 100 terabyte example that Josh provided, that's the capacity that the customer has, 100 terabytes, to snap back up and protect their data, put it into a secure offsite location. We don't believe that we should then charge for network egress at the time you need to do a restore. Actually, network egress is always happening even when you're writing, but it's a
big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's great for us when we're working with our customers, Tom. It's about trust. Yeah. So we have these vaults, the 14 that I mentioned around the world. They're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're in tier 1 data centers. You put your data there, and let's say there is a cybersecurity event because there's been a phishing scam, and some of those look really good these days, Tom. I've actually had to look at one for 4 or 5 minutes to work out whether it's real or not. And that's after 30 years worth of experience. It used to be easy. It's not easy anymore. So
you used to be able to just check the email
right.
address. Yeah, now it's a bit harder.
I had one that was sort of like a North Post one not that long ago, or might have been my bank or something, and it looked really good. And, if I was fatigued or not concentrating, I could have clicked. So it can happen. Now, in that event, this is some of what we've seen. Businesses would then have a crisis meeting. And let's say you've got a petabyte of data you need to get back. It's a real big situation. A petabyte coming out of Amazon Web Services, the rack rate's 9 cents US a gig. Roughly, that could be 150,000 Australian dollars to get your data out. That's just not something that's part of the Wasabi pricing model. You put your data in, It's your data, it's your IP. You paid us to store it and protect it. But if you need it because something happened, you shouldn't have to have a crisis meeting to decide whether you're going to do the restore or not.
So Stephen, because why you compare the restore cost versus the ransom versus the ransom, and if the ransom was 100K and the egress was 150, you might pay the ransom, right? Is that the
Well,
is
that
that
could
what you're
be
saying?
that could be a part of the decision making process.
Well, you could say Amazon's holding you to ransom to get your data.
I can't say that.
Well, I can. Hey, just so I think, Stephen, what are you're referring to the fact that you can do immutable you can worm lock your data in Wasabi so that it is ransomware protected, even if hackers get access to it. Yeah. So that you're getting a clean. So it's not just that's what I was talking about. Cloud storage 3.0. 2.0 is you're getting storage, but you're getting other features, and you're getting, I think, you've still got the 11 nines durability, like the big three, but you're also getting encryption and worm lock, and you're getting all these security features. So it is a really good, it's a sort of a really good backup, and we're seeing a lot of customers with Essential 8 maturity level 2. You have to have immutable backup repositories. So that's been a driver for a lot of the projects. One thing I did want you to talk about is, which I found, which is really cool, is when customers, let's say they're using Azure Blob or AWS S3, that Wasabi provide a service called Cloud Sync, where you guys will migrate the data. So do you want to maybe explain how that works and what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got quite a few of those projects on the go right now. And there's some really interesting circumstances where customers of Amazon Web Services, based on European legislation, can actually get approval to exit the Amazon environment without paying egress fees. So that's really attractive to partners and customers. And we do have the tool called Wasabi Cloud Sync Manager, which is a compute engine that we can run wherever we need to run it. So a short scenario on that, Josh, Tom, might be the customers in Amazon Web Services, and they've got a set of buckets there. Could be file data, could be backup data, could be geospatial information data, could be really anything. And they've made a decision that they want to put that data into Wasabi because it'll be less cost. It's a hot tier, instantly accessible. The performance may even be better. So this is where it gets interesting. Actually, you're paying less doesn't mean you're getting less. Mm-hmm. You mentioned it before, Josh. There's the 11 nines of its object storage, so you're on par there. But actually, the reads and writes may be faster on Wasabi because
you guys benchmark yourself against those guys.
Yeah, but because we're just focused on object storage. We don't have all this compute environment to run, and we have some really big pipes. So performance. It's an interesting point. Sometimes customers think because they're paying less that they might be getting less in terms of performance. That's actually not true. But we do have the Wasabi Cloud Sync Manager, so that we can stand up an environment. Let's say we're coming out of Amazon, we'll run that in Amazon EC2, the engine. There's security pieces to work through in all this, but we'll read from the Amazon Web Services bucket. We'll pull it out of the Wasabi engine, so we've got egress actually on our account, so the customer doesn't need to pay the egress directly in this case, and then we'll write that data into Wasabi buckets, so we can do that also for Azure or Google or other environments. We can take the data from where it is and we can move it over to Wasabi, and through our partners, we help customers achieve that outcome.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, you guys do the migration and cop the egress fee. There is a price to it, but it's the price works out to be similar to what the cost of the egress would be, but you're getting the professional services migration thrown in. Essentially, is how we sort of talk about it with customers. So
the ROI is extraordinary, Josh.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
If customers are storing data for 7 years, whilst there's a cost to do the migration and exit environment, that's paid for within about 10 weeks. So if you're doing 7 years worth of data, that 10 weeks becomes a rounding error.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. So Stephen, it sounds like the use case is unstructured files, cloud-based unstructured files. That seems to be the right space? So you're not talking about
So it's
data
back up and archive. Tom is the
up and
starting point, and then and then if you get into what we all I call Cloud Storage 3.0, Steve, do you want to maybe start telling us about some of the more the high level services like Cloud NAS and the surveillance cloud? Do you want to maybe sort of take us through those?
Yeah, object storage is, I think now we can consider it as a first-class citizen. And so if we go back, 10 years and 20 years, on premises, we've got NAS, or actually really DAS, direct attached systems. We'd have x86 servers and RAID 5 controllers and disks and JBODs, just a bunch of disks. And then we went to file systems, maybe a network appliance or a Dell EMC. Now it's called PowerScale, formerly Isilon. And then this in cloud. And then object storage has always been a little bit, historically, has been a little bit different, right? Because it's not files, it's objects, and it's not block because it's object. But now it's first-class citizen, and we write petabytes worth of data into our system in this country daily and weekly, which is sort of mind-blowing because I remember hole punching 360K drives to make them 720K in capacity, and now we're writing petabytes per day. So in cloud storage 3.0, what does that mean? As Josh said, backup and recovery is a lot of the data that comes across to Wasabi systems, because there's lots of applications that have an S3 connector that can use Wasabi. Immutability, really important. Josh said that a couple of times. A worm, write once, read many. That has to be a mandatory requirement for customers, and we speak about that a lot with our partners and customers, even frankly if they're using Wasabi or not. Like, let's all work together here to reduce the cost of cybersecurity, because we all pay for that in some way. Right? So, the immutability piece is really important. But now the more advanced use cases would be, I have a large customer, it's a cultural institution, a museum, and we like working on things that are good. There's the preservation of history there, and they have advanced file systems that snapshot the file system capacity to Wasabi. That's augmenting the on-premises equipment, which is very fast and very expensive. Yep. So you augment that with Wasabi. So that's now more advanced use cases in this Cloud 3.0. And there are a lot of systems that will tier capacity to Wasabi that is now not purely backup and recovery, but it's capacity offload and snapshot offload. So there are a lot of things that are happening, Tom, and there's a lot of systems with cloud pools and S3 integrations and scale-out repositories. And then there's some really fascinating stuff that happens within Australia around bringing together disparate systems and data sets and pulling them together so that it's all indexable and usable as a single system.
Cool.
Yeah, so the Cloud NAS one, I'm particularly interested because, we have a lot of customers in the medical research and in the AEC, architects and engineers who have massive file servers on premises. They might need to keep them for compliance purposes. Might keep their data for 7 years. So let's say you have a 20 terabyte file server, which Tom, who's worked at architecture firms, would know that's small. So they're bigger than that, and then you're backing that up.
AEC,
so
architecture, engineering,
20 terabytes. You got another copy, and then maybe you need to keep it for a while. So the Cloud NAS allows you is a Wasabi service that runs, I think, on a Windows server that allows you to set policies at a file level. So, for example, if something's 90 days old or hasn't been touched for 90 days, an example, it will archive the file to Wasabi Cloud and leave a stub. So from an end user point of view, they'll, the user experience is, I think, pretty much unchanged. So what that means is then potentially, if you say 80 to 90% of unstructured data is cold, because after a couple of weeks, it's not used. it's very rarely used. So maybe of that, 10 or 20 terabytes, maybe you'd only keep 4 on premises by the time you archive everything off that's over 90 days. And then you only have to back up 4 terabytes a day rather than 20 terabytes a day, which is, much shorter backup window, and then, significantly lower cost from both a production storage and a secondary storage point of view. So I can see, I wasn't aware of this, embarrassingly, Stephen, I wasn't aware of this service. I'm embarrassed about it, but I would see, I would see that as a fairly compelling offer. You seeing some good traction out there in the market with this service?
Yeah, we do. I'm a real fan of this particular product and service from Wasabi. I know I'm wearing the Wasabi shirt, so I might be biased, but we've had a really good success rate with it, and some interesting use cases, and potentially we have the largest Wasabi Cloud NAS customers in the world. Might actually be in Australia, and that could be space GIS systems. We've got some really good footprint in that space, and there's some specific applications in that space where they're writing to Windows file servers. Those Windows file servers, they might be spread geographically all across the territory, and they might have limited amount of internal or external block disk capacity for the file system. So that's a challenge if you've got LiDAR images and drones coming in every single day, and it's video now. Or a lot of it too. It could be mine sites. It could be, really anything.
Production sites. Yeah. Any of those offsite.
Yeah, construction.
Anything. And so that's all coming in, and then you're writing up to the disk on the Windows server. The disk fills up. Then, what do? You start deleting. Well, you don't want to delete it. You need to keep it. And so what Wasabi Cloud NAS does, which is all transparent to the user, they're just doing the things that they normally do. So this is now happening at an operating system level. There's the Wasabi Cloud NAS software that runs on Windows, and it can inspect a folder, and any files going into that folder, it'll take that file and put it up into a Wasabi bucket. So that's got some immediate advantages. Well, first of all, you're now offsite, and you've got that file in a tier 1 data center, rather than the mine site or wherever that Windows machine is. It's still available, that file, to the application, because it's part of the Windows file system. It might not be consuming any disk space locally, but it's still there to be able to be recalled by the user or the application at any time transparently through the application. And so we've had some great success using that. It's in councils, specific GIS partners and businesses. It's got quite large medical imaging systems, hospitals. Windows machines are everywhere, attached to CT scanners or cardio machines, radio RIS systems, radiology information systems, often have a Windows component to it. And so with Wasabi Cloud NAS, we can put that on the Windows machine without changing anything else. So there's no change to the user experience, and we can get that file data into Wasabi buckets. So now it's secure and offsite. And the applications can keep ingesting data, and you don't need to vertically or horizontally scale the Windows infrastructure on site.
Is it correct, Stephen, that that's $8.99 USD a terabyte a month? Is that right for that service?
That's correct.
So you get the software and the storage for not a lot more than just the base. Base solution. That's for the base storage amount.
Yeah, it's all put together. So there's a client piece there. There's some software to install, and it can be a bit of fun actually. For anyone who likes to tinker and go build systems. One of the things that can be done is the little Intel NUCs, the very small form factor PCs and servers. You can run a Windows operating system on one of those. It might literally have half a terabyte of NVRAM disk in there, but the volume you can present there might be a petabyte volume. So a petabyte on premises costs you millions. Now, you've got an Intel NUC, which is the size of an Apple TV or something like that. That's your ingest point. You can write to that. And so the user applications can have a petabyte presented to them from a machine that's got maybe, let's say, a terabyte worth of disk on it. It's pretty cool.
Hey, Tom, wouldn't this have been good back in the old Hassel or Woods Bagot days?
I mean, it's interesting. I'm just going back through some of the trauma around that space. But obviously you present stubs back to the user, so they think it's all there, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then when they click on it, it sort of rehydrates it out of them.
Yeah, so you might be in AutoCAD and you've got a Revit file, an RVT. I'm not trying to bring out any memories for you, Tom, but you might have a Revit file and you're in the application.
Yeah. I think the trap there for users is just to remember that the network size is very important, particularly when users are rehydrating files. Because they see the file, they don't understand why that file is running so slowly, right?
Yeah.
Despite various amounts of training but without that, you're stuck. You can't actually provide a solution without spending megabucks.
Yeah. Well, it's better than not having it, or better than having to, keep hundreds of
server just crashing because it runs out of space. Right?
And I just want to make a comment. I don't know. I'm interested in your guys' view. I mean, what I see a lot of is customers who have moved everything into SharePoint.
Yeah, right. That's definitely not the answer.
But so many customers, they've got everything in SharePoint, whether it's AutoCAD, because they like the front end. But the problem is you get a terabyte a tenant and 10 gig of user license. So you've got 100 users, you've got 2 terabytes of back-end SharePoint storage. And I think they charge you something like 30 cents a gig. Microsoft charges you a month for overages. So that a terabyte, that's $300 a terabyte versus what was this? $10? So, it's an extraordinary. I don't know about you, Stephen, but I see that a lot. I've seen customers paying, $20,000 plus a month to Microsoft for SharePoint overages.
Yeah, Windows File Server is hugely popular across Australia and New Zealand in all kinds of customer environments, partners, and it is everywhere. Of course, there are the large file systems, your NetApp FAS and your Dell EMC PowerScales, without doubt. But there's a massive number of Windows file servers across Australia, New Zealand, and APAC, and the world. And customers use that in sophisticated ways. They might be using DFS for multi-site systems and deployments, and they're all integrated with native Active Directory or Azure AD, which is now called Entra. So all those. If that environment's there, that Windows file system environment's there, then Wasabi Cloud NAS is a 5-minute add-on piece.
Mm-hmm.
That runs under the covers for the application, whether that's your Microsoft Office suite or your AutoCAD style applications, or if it's geoinformational, it might be Esri, or if it's radiology, it could be one of many systems. If it's cardio, it could be Philips Accelera. It just runs under the covers. And one of the best parts about it maybe is that comes back to cybersecurity, actually, which is always at the forefront of our conversations, Tom. All day long, it's cybersecurity, and the Wasabi Cloud NAS, you've got the file now in a secure off-site location. So one of the risks you're getting there is theft, fire, flood. You're
protected. You're protected. You're backed up. And then the other thing is you're not going to get the server full crashes on Friday afternoon and no one looks at anything for 2 days. That's So it just sounds like a really simple, easy solution for many of those use cases that require localized hard drive, but you need a backup for it.
Yeah, and talking about another use case, which is the other sort of the other last one I want to cover off is the Wasabi surveillance cloud. So we definitely see a lot of customers now. We've got customers in the aged care space where they have to have a lot of video cameras, and they have to keep that surveillance footage for a particular period of time for ISO compliance, and they need to be able to search it, and they need to be, if X, Betty had an accident and there's a law case, they need to be able to find it. They need to be able to bring it back. So, but the size and cost of if you have 100 cameras per aged care centre of storing it, backing it up and maintaining it is, and now with all the drone footage we were talking about before, that's a growing thing. Construction, they have to have, security cameras at those sites. So it's health, it's very, and you mentioned mining. So Steve, do you want to maybe, I don't want to steal your thunder, tell us about the Wasabi Surveillance Cloud offering, and if you want to share a couple of examples, Australian examples, that'd be great.
Yeah, we do have customers in, I don't know if I can name a particular customer here.
You don't have to, that's all right.
Yeah, there may be NDAs in place, but there's well-known global shipping and logistics companies, for example, bonded warehouses, cameras are everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you go into the shopping mall or the petrol station or wherever you go now, there's cameras. That's the world we live in, and so it's a lot of similarities actually to Wasabi Cloud NAS. Camera footage of files; those files need to go somewhere. So there's, like Wasabi Cloud NAS, there's a piece of software there that's inspecting the camera footage, which will start off being local, and it'll pick up those files and put them into a bucket anywhere in the world that the customer chooses. An Australian customer would typically choose Sydney, but if they want to put it in Singapore or London, they can. That's completely their choice. But the important thing is that file is now offsite, and if there is an incident or event, and we need that for OH&S reasons, or maybe there's a court case, or whatever the scenario is, that file is not at risk being on premises, because if it's a theft type event, or maybe what if the recording here is stolen? That would be a bit of a problem. So the files are now offsite, and these systems can get quite complex, Josh, because cameras have gone from 2K to 4K to 8K, so the file sizes get larger, and so now that's a real challenge when sizing these solutions. If you want to have a lot of, how much footage do you need to keep? A week, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Can you afford to have that much disk on premises? You've got
7 years. 7 years, Stephen.
Is that right?
Yeah. And where are you going to put that? And you got to power up all that. You got to buy that.
You got to back it up.
Yeah. So it can be.
It's a storage salesman's dream, Stephen.
It's one of, yes, Josh, we thought about it as a business, predates my time, absolutely. But as a particular use case, and there's specialized partners in, video and surveillance, whether that's Milestone and Access, and some of our technical alliance partners. We've brought solutions to market that the market wanted. And we are very successful with that all around the world.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a really clean solution for it. Wasabi is really good for the video footage backup piece.
Well, it's doing a similar archive thing to the NAS, Tom. So you're leaving the stub, and it runs on a Windows box. So it solves a lot of the S3 compatibility issues that the public cloud has with the video management software solutions out there.
Immediately, as I said, immediately decreases your budget, right? Or gives you more space in your budget. You don't spend so much on bloody storage. It sounds like a win to me.
Is the price on that the same as Cloud NAS, or is that a different pricing model?
It's a slightly different price, I think, Josh. It's going to. It's not displayed on the website, but it's a little bit more than Wasabi Cloud NAS.
You'd expect that, yeah, okay. But knowing you guys, it'll probably still be very, very competitive and reasonable. Did I hear that Wasabi has announced another Australian region to come? Is that true or not? Or you're not allowed to say?
I can't make forward-looking statements on behalf of
good exclusive on our podcast.
Right.
No.
I will temper my...
Sorry, Stephen, I apologise.
Okay, there's no problem.
Well, there may be some... Watch this space, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, watch this. I can say this. So we just had a recent executive visit from our we have sales leadership out of Europe, and actually one of the founders of Wasabi, the CMO, Michael Welts, lovely man, came to see us recently because things in Australia have been going really well. And it's been very noticeable. So we have 14 vaults around the world. We launched the Sydney Vault in May of 2022. And this is a very large multi-million-dollar investment. And I did mention ingest rates can be petabytes per day into that system. So it's a large system. So now we can hypothesize a little bit. Customers and partners would come to us and they'd say, well, we want more locations than Sydney in Australia. And I can say we tend to agree with them. And I could also say that our business is significantly strong in terms of our partners and customers in the ingest rates, that there's a really good business case to go and do more within Australia.
Yeah, great.
I think you missed your calling as a politician, Steve. that was beautiful. All right, no, I think that's good. We've done time. I really appreciate that, Stephen. As far as if people want to contact you, or any sort of final words that you'd like to say to the audience.
Well, Well, thank you to you and Josh, you and Tom, Josh, for foremost. It's been great catching up, and our partners are our lifeblood, and with our partners, what we really like to do, Josh, is help customers do what they need to do and find superior solutions. Maybe it's cost out, or maybe it's around the cyber protection that we do a lot of work around. But my final thought is this, and here's an expression that we live by. And I might be butchering the expression just a little bit, but all boats will rise at a high tide.
Sure.
It's one of our favourite things. And so if we're doing all the right things with our partners and customers to help them do whatever it is they need to do, then all of our graphs will move up and towards the right. And so that's why we like working at cultural institutions, museums and libraries. Universities are really important because they're the part of our society. That's where our kids are. That's our future. And there's a lot of IP in universities. And so when we're helping customers get snapped back up and protected and they're not paying the ransom, then if we can do that holistically across the country, then we should be driving down the cost of cyber security and cyber insurance and all those associated costs.
Yeah, well done. It's good to hear.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, the wasabi.com, the website, and anyone has any questions about Wasabi, you can obviously reach out to me. We are a proud partner, Stephen. People know where to find me and Tom. I'll give out your address and phone number, Tom, so if anyone wants to come around and babysit your kids for you instead of the robot, they might charge you less than 30 grand. You never know. And everyone out there, thank you very much for listening to the Leading IT podcast. Our next podcast, we will cover off the Microsoft Ignite 2024. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at Satya Nadella's keynote, it's definitely worth a look. And I'll give you a tip: the word agentic. Get ready for the word agentic. Okay. The agentic future. Funny stuff. But thanks, Stephen. Really appreciate you coming on, and Tom. It's always a pleasure.
Likewise, Josh, and thank you, Steve.
All right, see you guys. See you. Thank you.